Hello friends, welcome to Salesforce Semantics video session 139. So basically in today's video, we will understand what are the different types of subcharts. What is the difference basically? We have already understood what are the different types of subcharts in the bar section of the Salesforce Semantics charts. Today we'll understand what is the difference between each one of them. So basically, what is the difference between bar chart, column chart, and pyramid chart, and what is the difference between their counterparts, stacked chart. Well, that means, what is the difference between bar chart and stacked bar chart? What is the difference between column chart and column bar chart? What is the difference between pyramid and stacked pyramid chart? So firstly, what I will do is I will quickly go to my Analytics Studio. And over here, let me go to the browse section. And since I have saved all the charts in our recipe dataset, so let me just open the recipe dataset and very quickly let me open the lens. Okay. Now, as you can see, firstly, what I will do is first we will understand the difference between bar, column, and pyramid. So let me simultaneously open the bar. Sorry, not the stack bar. I need to open the bar. Okay. So here I have the bar. Okay. And here let me open column. And also let me open the pyramid chart. Okay, and maybe I can just duplicate this tab to ensure we will understand the stacked one. Okay, so first of all, let's understand the difference between the bar, column, and pyramid. Okay, firstly, as you already know that under bars, basically, like whenever you click on bar, automatically the bars will be a horizontal line. Okay, that is something we already know that part. Okay, when it comes to column, basically it will be in terms of vertical lines, as you can see over here. Now when it comes to pyramid, so basically if you see, like for bar you have bar length and bars. Okay, and for column also you have bar length and bars. Okay, which is fine. So at first you define the bars for for column, and then you define the bar length. When it comes to the bars, basically you define the bar length and then the bars. So under bar length you have the uh, summation on average of amount. Okay, and that's the same thing over here. But at first you have the bar, then you have the bar length. Now when it comes to pyramid, we have something called as the left axis and right axis. Okay, now whenever you open any data set, automatically the bar length will always be there. When you open a lens, actually, okay, a data set or a lens, the bar length will always be there. Now but when it comes to pyramid, basically you have not this concept of bar length, something which was existing. So for example, in bars and columns you have something called as bar length. But when it comes to pyramid, you have something defined as left axis and right axis, because there are two charts which will be displayed simultaneously. Okay, so definitely the requirement is you need to have a left axis and a right axis for sure. Okay, to display the pyramid chart. Fine, something which is not required under bars. Okay, that's the first thing. Now the thing is that here basically, if you see the formatting, basically it's the same. So if I just open the formatting, okay, everywhere, this first stuff is the same, not an issue. But now when it comes to the bars chart, you have this, show values as, okay, the axis mode auto fit, something which you will see under the column chart as well. Okay, so you have under column chart compact number default, okay, axis mode and auto fit, and something you will have under here as well under pyramid chart. Okay, show value as number of decimal digits. So when you go for number of decimal digits, okay, so here basically the number of decimal digit, that's default. Now here actually you have this extra option if you see. So when it comes to number of decimal digits, okay, under bars and columns you don't have any extra options. But when it comes to pyramid, you have this extra options of whether you want to show the measure titles axis as well as the measure. So if you just deselect this one, that measure axis and title won't come up, okay, at all. So basically that too is automatically here by default. Fine, which is fine. Now, when it comes to bars, something you have under y-axis, all these things, okay. And when it comes to here, you have something on the x-axis, which is fine. So that's the thing. Again, the title, verticals, these are actually the same over here. That's fine. And here you have something called as left axis and right axis, okay. So under left, so basically, if you see like here individually for bars and columns, individually you can define whether you want to show the axis in terms of x-axis or y-axis, okay. But when it comes to pyramid, you have both of them defined under the pyramid chart, where automatically the measured title or the measured axis will disappear if you disable that. Okay, something which you can do individually on x-axis and y-axis for bar and column both. Okay, same thing for the x-axis over here. Fine. The legend, I think legend is same, so legend is present everywhere. Okay, but yeah, here you have something called as the reference line. Now, if I quickly show you this part, okay, about adding the reference line. Now, the reference line, suppose if I add something like let it be this. So I can write something like, let's say 50m. Okay, let me save it very quickly as well. Now, as you can see here, basically that reference line which is showing in the bars, that will show in the x-axis top. Okay. When it comes to y-axis, basically it will show you under this y-axis left. Okay. And the reference line which will come up is a horizontal one over here in the column chart, but in the bar chart it will come as a vertical one. So remember this, under bar chart you will have the reference line as a vertical one, and under column it will be a horizontal one. And on pyramid, of course, it will be defined on the left axis. I think for right axis you will, yeah, for left and right axis it will be defined for both, and that will be a vertical line, as you can see over here. Fine. So that is one of the difference which you can note it down. Other than that, these are all fine. The tooltip, I mean, nothing else is there. So the tooltip and everything, those work as it is. The trail is the chart marker, the conditional formatting. Even here also is the same thing. The trail is the chart marker, conditional work on the same. So if you, the similarity is that, if you have something on the similarity, the general properties will remain the same for bar, column, and pyramid. Okay, but and also, what are the other things which will remain the same? The other things which will remain the same, the legend portion is the same thing. Okay, you have all the various options, so the legend portion will also remain the same thing. Okay, in all of this, so even if I go over here, the legend portion will also remain the same thing. Now, basically, as well as this part as well, that is, the chart markers. Okay, so let me just, okay, so the tooltip, trellis, the chart markers, the conditional formatting, all will remain same. Okay, for all of this. Now, where the difference lies. So the difference lies is basically like here, the reference line will be a vertical one under bar chart. For column chart, it will be a horizontal one. And again, for you can have two reference line over here. Okay, and that part can be defined. Fine. And one more thing is, like, whenever you are having under bar chart, you don't have that property to disable, this axis separately. But however, you can go on the axis mode, and I mean on the particular y-axis and axis, and disable that axis and title. Now something which is available for this particular in the pyramid, it's available at one go. Okay, if you want to, like, the show the measure axis and measure title. Fine. And other than that, if you see, like, there's an extra option which we have in the center axis, which is like if you want to show the axis or not. Okay, if you disable this, it will not show that center axis as well. Okay, something which is defined separately as a x-axis and y-axis. If you don't want to display this, like, you can, like, just click on disable this show title, not this one, sorry. 1 minute, you have something on the left axis, I guess. Give me a moment. Under bar, where you have it, so this is the x-axis top, this is the y-axis. I go for show, yeah. So basically you have this enabling button of show axis, which will actually help to disappear this values. Okay, now this is something which is present as a center axis. Okay, so that's the thing. So for bar and column, you have separate thing called x-axis and y-axis, and that will depend on what kind of it is, whether it's a horizontal or vertical. Okay, but for pyramid, you have something called a center axis. And as I told you, the other difference being, you in the bars and columns, you deal with bar length and bars, but under pyramid you have this option called left axis, right axis, which has to be compulsorily defined. Okay, yeah, that is the all thing about the difference between these three. So for this bar section, whatever the different types are there, like the bars, columns, and pyramid, those things are defined. Now very quickly we will move to something, what is the difference between the bar chart and stacked bar chart. So it's same thing for everyone, but maybe I can define for one of them very quickly. Now if you come to the difference between bar and stacked bar, so the main difference which will be applicable for all three of them is that, here for bars you don't have one extra parameters defined for the data section, which is the bar segment. So when it comes to the stacked bar, you can use this extra parameter of bar segments. Now it's not compulsory, you may avoid to do it, but again, if you are avoiding to do it, then you're not leveraging the use of stacked bar chart. So the main difference which is existing between bar, stacked bar chart, column stacked column chart and pyramid stacked pyramid chart is the fact that you have an extra section called as the bar segment, which can be utilized, and where you can, like for a particular industry, you can find like what is the stages for each one of them. Okay, that is something you can find it out in the stacked bar chart. Okay, other than that, I think there's not much of a difference. So you have this bar chart over here. So yeah, under you will have this stacked bar chart. So you will have this bar chart over here, and under stacked bar chart, you can see the axis mode and single axis. Yeah, you can have this option of normalized values. Okay, so that is an extra option which is there. Like you can show the percentage of it. Okay, something you cannot, and of course that's not possible to do on the bar chart because you don't have that stack. So whatever you are stacking up, if you want to show in terms of a percentage, you can do that by enabling this button called normalized values, which will show you the stat group as a percentage of total. Fine. Okay, and other than that, everything else is same. This is just an extra option which you have under the number of decimal digits, something you don't have in the normal bar chart. Okay, and other than that, I think everything else is same, not an issue. And the same thing goes for 1 minute. The same thing goes for the column and stacked column. Okay, so very quickly, if I open the column and stacked column, so I have something, a column over here, and I have something called as stacked column. Now again, if you see, like that's the main thing. So you will have something called as like you will have an extra thing called as bar segment, and you will have an extra option under stacked, which is nothing but the normalized value. Okay, I have a normalized values, but if I want, I can normalize the values over here. Okay, that's the way to come up. Fine. And I think show total axis mode. Okay, one more thing I observed is here you have something called a show total. Fine. If you want to show the total as absolute or net, I think we already understood like the absolute or net for each bar. Unlike net totals, absolute total ignores negative signs. Okay, that's one thing. That's one more thing which is there, which is also available over here as well. Okay, so yeah, that is one thing to keep in mind about this show total. Yeah, this show total part, like how you want to see, whether you want to see as a net or absolute. Okay, that part we can do it over here. For example, if I go for none, it will not show up the total, but if I go for absolute, it will show up the total. Okay, so that's another point of difference which we have as well. Okay, that is something to keep in mind. And finally, what we can do is maybe we can check the pyramid ones as well very quickly. So if I open the pyramid, and if I open the stacked pyramid, and over here also, if you see, more or less is the same thing. It's just that it will be stacked one after the other. So basically under pyramid, you have this option, but when you come to this formatting option on the stacked pyramid, you will have this normalized values. Okay, and of course here we don't have that option of showing total, which is fine, which doesn't make sense, but you have this option of normalized values. Okay, which needs to be taken into consideration. And for center axis, yeah, for center axis you have the size and everything, which is fine, but that's the main thing about this compact, where you have this normalized value. Okay, so yeah, overall that's the basic difference. Fine. So always remember that when it comes to bar, column, and pyramid, if I just summarize it up, under bars, and you have deal with bar length bars, and the columns also the same thing, but when it comes to pyramid, you deal with left axis, right axis. Okay, and you have an x-axis and y-axis separately over here, but when it comes to pyramid, you have some options related in the center axis. So basically, if you want to do that, the center axis picture comes into part. Okay, and here you define the reference line in a vertical manner, and on the column it's the horizontal, and pyramid of course is the vertical, which can define for both. Yeah, so that's more or less of the difference between bar, column, and this one. Fine. And over here, of course, in pyramid you have this extra option of show major titles directly in the pyramid chart, something you don't get to see. Like you will see it, but separately in the axis and the y-axis. Okay, now when it comes to the stacked options, so basically that's one whole difference which you have observed is the normalized values. Like you can show the normalized values over here, and you can have a bar segment separately defined. So a normal bar chart and a stacked bar, that bar segment separately defined, you can normalize the values. Okay, and yeah, and also you can show the total. Fine. So basically that show total which appears at last, okay, that you can only do in a stacked bar chart or stacked column chart, or stacked, I mean in stacked pyramid chart you can't do it, but you can do it in a stacked bar and stacked column chart. Fine. And of course this normalized value is also there, disabling or enabling that. So yeah, that is more or less about this, the different kinds of different types which is present under bars. Okay, so yeah, that's it. And yeah, let's meet very soon in our next video. Thank you.